The 2024 Banking with Life Client Only event is coming up this October, Friday the 25th, Saturday the 26th. I'm excited to see you, excited to share the news with you.
How many people were there last year?
A little over 130.
How many states?
22 to 23.
Yeah. Okay. So the only kind of event where you've got the minority, really the minority, right? Y'all see what's going on social media and online with how IBC and the language of banking is being used. You know that what you're doing is different, and there is one opportunity in the year to go hang out with a bunch of other people who are all doing something very similar. I don't think you should miss it.
You shouldn't miss it. I mean, it's going to be full of educational talks. Breakfast, lunch, the details will be forthcoming in an email, gives you the opportunity to register. And so I don't want to get deep into the details, but I'm telling you, a room full of like-minded people that are not ashamed to be paying premium, actually controlling the banking function. And last year, Ryan, we had clients that were maybe a month or two, brand new clients, and clients that were 10 or 12 years practicing.
Yeah.
So there's a broad array of people from all over the country doing different things, but they're all focused on controlling the banking function in their life properly, correctly.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. That's a big deal. I don't know where you can go and find that many people in one room.
Yeah. And had the opportunity to hear directly from number one, number two, senior executive leadership at a company that a lot of our clients own. In what other domain of finance today does that ever happen? And nobody go and meet the head of some index fund, okay, or the guys who write up the 401k plans. But you get that here. You hear directly from the people who work at and are in charge of the companies themselves. You meet other people, like you said, brand new clients, people who've been doing it for over a decade. None of this. Look, there's plenty of places. You want to go do the crypto, you want to go do the real estate investing, and do into the new flashy, fun things that are really great to sell you right down a river. There's a lot of that out there. People have a lot of opportunity to go do that. This is not that. It's a nice little break from that. If you were there last year, the venue was very nice. It's a great time to be in Texas in October. I enjoyed it. It'll be a good time.
Ryan's book will be out. The opportunity to get it autographed. Other new merch. Now I'm looking forward to it. The first one. This will be the third one. The first one was really good. 100 people there, 20 different states. More people were there last year in the second one. More states. I think this one is going to be bigger and better. Yeah. Regardless of how many people come, I'm excited about the talks and the people talking. Yeah. The team will be there. You'll be able to get to meet them. I know most of you have. A lot of you have met them, and all of our clients have spoken with them. But to be able to meet them it's a great opportunity.
Former podcast guests, they come.
Oh yeah.
And so it's for clients of James Neathery and for my clients. And again, details will be in the email. Sign up will be through email. And last time we had a lot of questions about where's the link? It'll be provided by email. Okay, there is no public page because it's not for the public. It'll be sent directly to you. All right.
Yeah, the only agents that'll be there there will be zero outside agents, but there are agents that are affiliated with my office, and they'll be there and their clients. Yeah. And it's not a sales fest. It's not come and see the next great thing to, be pressured into purchasing before you have a birthday or whatever.
Right.
That's pretty cool. Calm, cool, relaxed, and educational and fun. Yeah. Did I mention fun? Yeah, it'll be fun. I assure you. Okay. Hope to see you there.
See you there.
In this episode, Ryan and I encourage you to be prepared for what's coming by turning off the noise, looking within, and going to the source. And we had fun doing it. Thanks for listening. Welcome to the Banking with Life podcast. I'm your host, James Neathery.
I'm your co-host, Ryan Griggs.
So happy to be here. happy that you're here. Appreciate you listening. And it's good to see you, Mr. Griggs. It's been a minute. Where have
Yes,
you been?
it has. Good. Survived the flood out in Rockwall County. Hammered with like 2 weeks of rain. My front and backyard's a complete swamp mud pit. So, but we survived. Everything's intact.
Our pastures are kind of like rice paddies, but we just don't grow rice. Got hay cut and half of them sitting. Can't get to it because whatever. But, we're going to miss the rain here in a couple of months, and thankful for it. And, I like to say it rains on the just as well as the unjust. All right, so it has been a minute. We'll see what we wind up talking about, but, I'm excited about the Banking with Life event coming up this October in 2024. And if you're a client, you should have been or are going to receive emails. And I think it's shaping up. I've got the agenda put together. I'm not ready to release it yet, but the speakers that are coming in to speak, in addition to you speaking and me speaking, and the topic that I have noodling around in this vast mind of mine is I'm kind of excited about it. And I'm surely excited about the speakers. So
if you haven't heard before, or if you're hearing for the first time, this is a client-only live event. Clients and their invited guests, which is why there's a private email that goes out to them to sign up and to find the location. And but yes, I think mid to late October, Fort Worth, Texas. Did it last year, year before. And it's a great time to be in Texas. Talking about the weather, it's a great time to be in Texas when we have our 2 weeks of nice weather.
I wonder who schedules that. Who thought October would be a good time, or March?
But it's a lot of. I mean, it's very unique because you get people who are all practicing in their own way the IBC along the lines that we teach, which is the way I believe Nelson taught how to buy and use whole life insurance. And if you spend much time researching the infinite banking concept, maybe you're just getting started. If you spend enough time, you'll start to hear some differences between other outlets and this one. Nelson says on page 3 that the infinite banking concept, or becoming your own banker, unlocking the infinite banking concept, is not a sales tool for life insurance agents. And you'll see that it has become that on a lot of different outlets. And
they're good.
Yeah, it's well produced. There's they got the gamified sort of colorful high production type approach thing.
Big keywords,
the slogans, the buzzwords, the SEO, the algorithms, the everything that goes with a modern online business, right? Whether or not that's something that you like or not, it's besides they're doing that. Just like all these guys do with everything else, right? The real estate, the crypto, and anything that can be bought and sold.
Commoditized.
Yeah. Sure. So when we say commoditized, we've gone from this long-term oriented, banking focused type mentality. So rarely is the discussion about IBC or purchasing whole life this kind of way. So rarely does it involve this idea of banking. It's really just become about, how much premium can you pay maybe in that first policy year or right away? How big of a check can you write right now? How much cash value can you generate right now? Which company is paying the highest dividend right now? Very short-term oriented. Commodification, stripping the.
Hey, did you read my notes? I'm kidding.
But just stripping the thought process down to the bare essential elements to facilitate the sale. I was reading somebody sent me, a client, somebody I like, sent me a link to another. It's always like, I'm going to send the links. But sent a link to one of these outlets that's very popular.
Sure.
And I went to it because I was in a moment of weakness or something. And the question of the term writers came up, and this particular company that this outlet advocates for, that has the quote unquote best products for the IBC. That company requires the use of annually renewing term for their, if you want the ability to pay a PUA premium, if you want a PUA rider on a policy, you got to use their annually renewing term to keep the non-MEC status.
In the blended form of the PUA.
Is it blended? It is blended. Yeah.
Yeah, they have two of them, two PUAs. Yeah.
And so they have an article. I was poking around on the website. There's an article about term writers and what the term writers do, and got down to where it's talking about, what's best and what's not. And, they said you shouldn't use those level term writers.
Never.
Because where the death benefit's fixed and the premium's fixed and the duration's fixed, where
it's all guaranteed.
Where you have all that contractual certainty
for the future, it's all guaranteed with clarity.
Shouldn't use that because that's
it doesn't require the dividend to pay for that.
Right.
Oh yeah.
That's where the agent makes a more commission.
Using the level term
is why you use the level term.
Oh my gosh.
And so then they follow up. It says, but we don't do that because we make up for it in volume.
Yeah,
was the word. We make up.
We're
for
Walmart.
It in volume.
We don't make a profit. How are you going to make a profit? By volume. We lose money, but because we're so altruistic, I'm not in business to make money. I'm in business to lose money or make very little, but we'll make up for it in volume.
Over in volume.
Oh yeah.
I think that's such a peculiar. Why? It's like my goal is to turn you over as fast as possible. I want to swipe through you as fast as possible.
Of you.
Because that's how I make this approach okay.
Yeah.
That's a silly. Why would somebody?
Because it's believable to the unaware. It's believable. Everybody, not everybody. It's common that nobody wants to pay a commission, right? Commission's been turned into a bad word. The life insurance industry has earned, some of the reputation that they have, but it's because they earned it. So it's easy to say, listen, that guy, you don't want to pay commission anyway, right?
Yeah.
And so we get paid very little commission because we're so altruistic. And then we make up for that in volume. I've had clients tell me in conversation, in the middle of a conversation, James, because we're having a conversation for whatever it is. And, if you give me the facts, if you give me the data and I understand who you are, what you would like, what you're doing, I give a response. I come with my own opinions, right? I'm jaded. I'm telling you, I'm jaded. And I come with my own opinions. And there's full disclosure, right? If I understand what is going on and what we're trying to do, I'm going to tell you, right? This is what I would encourage you to consider and why. And I would encourage you not to consider this and why, right? And you know what? I'm going to get paid a commission. I get paid commissions and fees, just like everyone listening. You get paid distributions, dividends, earned income, unearned income. It's like who's universal income. Who's walking around that name the cash flow? The name of a cash flow is bad. So a commission is bad because it's a commission. I don't get it, but hence the argument, and that's one of the old arguments. Well, I get paid this. I write this company. I write this product because I get paid less commission. No, they write that product and they're slamming level term writers. Oh, because they can't write them with that company that they love.
That's what it is. The company doesn't offer it.
Oh my God.
And I tell people this too. It's because not everyone. People can sometimes get concerned about whether someone's a captive agent or an independent agent. Do you write with one company? Do you write with multiple companies? And again, it goes back to this idea that profits are bad and, got to eliminate competition to the greatest amount possible. So, just like when you go to get an auto insurance quote, you might get a quote from 8 different companies or broker, have a little digital system and get all these different quotes and everything. When at the end of the day in whole life, you could be contracted. You could be an independent agent, contracted with multiple companies. And at the end of the day, most people end up writing with 1 or 2 of those companies for most of but not all of it. Not every company is the right fit for everybody. But people develop their habits. You know, there's this kind of economies of scale type thing. You get used to a certain company's products and procedures kind of suit your workflow. You kind of find what works for a certain flow. And so that's kind of ends up being the company that you write with. And fun fact, all of these companies, all these independent companies wished in their heart of hearts that every agent only wrote for them.
Oh, yes.
They all want to be the captive companies. They're all sad. They all have the FOMO. They all wish they were bigger than they are. They all want the agents to only work for them. And so their commission structure is all built across all companies to incentivize you to the greatest extent that their lawyers will let them allow to only write with them. And it's really just a matter of how sensitive various commission thresholds are to different production requirements across the different companies. But all of these companies have regional vice presidents, they call them, little home office guys that travel around. They're nice. Mostly.
To get agents contracted to write more business.
To recruit, to keep them in, stay between the lines. My point is, it's the same across the board. And by the way, the commission paid on term writers is you can look at the percentage of commission relative to the premium paid. But if you look at the premium paid on a term writer relative to the overall outlay paid on the policy, it's very small. Like the idea that the commission paid on this or that term writer is going to determine which term writer you recommend is a silly idea. That is a silly idea.
There's a lot there, but that argument is the same as, like, you mentioned auto insurance, property and casualty insurance, right? And I see a ton of presentations or advertisements or comments. I love the comments when life insurance comes up on social media. I can get lost in them. No, I write for all of the companies, implying or directly stating there that I can be non-biased. I can shop for you and get you the best, quote, because I write for all of them. It's, okay. So, but it's the same argument, or an argument that's very similar. I can write for all of them. So therefore I'm not beholden to any of them, and I can be very transparent.
Yeah.
And I want to jump back earlier. You speaking of the Banking with Life event this October 2024, you said people there that are practicing the infinite bank concept at many levels, new people that have been doing it 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 years, and how to buy whole life insurance. You said something along those lines earlier, the way Nelson taught, mm-hmm. and the way you believe and the way I believe. I mean, I just can't jump over that because your book is going to be published by then. I know you've all been waiting, right? And I know I had a small hand in, the delay of publishing the book. I've already asked for forgiveness, but your book, How to Buy Whole Life Insurance.
Yeah. How to Buy Whole Life
is going to be available, and our clients will have the opportunity to get an autographed copy. I'm just saying, I'm excited about that.
Thank you. Yeah. So I got finally the internally designed proof, right, where everything's kind of formatted to do the final edits. So it came out to this version of the proof is 237 pages long. So it's a real book. I would have poked it, but it's, it's not one of these pamphlets that's sales stuff.
Wait, you didn't get AI to go across the internet and create an ad or a pamphlet or a free download or the first chapter of the book that's going to come out, and so the AI creates it. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, right? You have the marketer that says all the right things, the buzzwords, the social media words, whatever, the tags, and then you get AI to come in and just enhance that. Oh my gosh. it's like, wow, no wonder some of these ads are so they're not, in my opinion, good, but are compelling, right? So it's not that. You mean it came from Ryan Griggs?
It's just me based on my own experience and learning from James and Nelson. So
I told him
most
earlier.
people probably won't be interested because it's not it's not the flashy. I know the goal is not to like make it easy on anybody. Look, Nelson added the 5th rule to his 4, rethink your thinking. The emphasis is on the structure of thought. And this kind of ties into this whole commodity-driven thing.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It's all product and performance-based. It's like virtually never do we hear about like the quality or the nature of the advisory conversation. People don't even use the phrase advisory conversation. I don't even know how these people regard what kind of conversation they have with clients. Oh, they don't. Different people at different times have little conversations to get as much as they need in order to get the application submitted and the policy issued. There's the idea that one would want to have a thorough back and forth so that the advisor are they even an advisor? So that the person who has access to the insurance company can understand your particular circumstances, what your ideas are, what your degree of understanding of the concept is, like that. None of that ever comes up, and it just continues to baffle or confuse me, and then I have conversations with people who have gone through those processes, maybe acquired policies. There's a big group out in Utah. And
aren't they everywhere? Utah,
yeah, they're everywhere. Talked to this guy. He got his first round of policies back in the late 20-teens or something. Had follow-up questions year to year, kind of like wanted to check in year to year. And the agent at this big office just vanished.
What?
And then he got reassigned. And the guy wanted to come back and get more. Mm-hmm. He's like, I want to buy more insurance.
Yep.
We've talked about this before.
It happens every day.
People want to come back to the person they originally talked to
every day
to get more. And the guy or the girl won't talk to them, probably isn't there, right?
Well, either one or the other. They're not there. They won't talk to them, or they've moved up or out or whatever. And so now you get the new guy in here that I get it. No, it's one or the other.
Yeah. Another, maybe not a big group, but has attracted some big names in the industry, was a part of life insurance sales for a couple years and then gone. So now what? What are all the people that bought policy? What do they do?
Yeah. Well, here's what a lot of people do. And not all people, and I'm just sharing because it fits right in. Because we show up and we don't really have a topic. He might make some notes prior. I might or might not make notes prior. But it's almost, we could almost do a portion of a segment of a podcast weekly on the weekly experiences, right? That you have, that I have. And so I got an email about, maybe a month ago. And very nice email. It was concise, which I greatly appreciate. It wasn't overly long and, dragging me through all the history of the world, which I'm a history lover. Okay, I want to be got an email, and it said, James, does James ever review life insurance policies? And my gut reaction was no, for my clients, yeah, but it was very professional, very polite. It wasn't pretentious. You get some of those. Anyway, we've got policies that we didn't. The agent has retired since whatever, and I would just like a review of these policies. So his agent left, right? Is retired, and he sends these. And I ask for very particular things. I mean, if I'm going to review it, I'm not going to ad hoc.
Right.
Give a comment or whatever. So, and he sends all the documents and, they're all organized. And so I review them initially, and, here the guy's at a pivotal point in his policies, the way they were designed, which are okay. They could have been better. Hindsight's always 20/20. Nothing egregious here. But he's at a very pivotal point, and I don't believe he's aware of it. And so I'm going to make him aware of it. Whether he becomes a client or not, I'm going to anyway, every day, James, I've got these policies that the person is gone. They won't call me back, or I mentioned your name and they fired me. I'm a refugee or an orphan, as y'all say. Can you help me? And, I love helping people. I want to help people. I can't help everyone, but, it's just over and over and over. Part of I think the reputation that the life insurance industry has earned, and it might be they've earned some black eyes that are, deeper and broader than the turnover of agents.
No pun intended, they underwrite all this. The guys who do the fly-by-night marketing here, sign here as quick as you can, they can only do it because a company gave them a freaking contract.
No question, but then you speak to the underwriter, have a conversation with you, the general public, the listener. Agents often don't have direct access to underwriters. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Depends on the company, the quality of it. Depends on a lot of things. But, talk about conversations of a week. I had an in-depth conversation with one of my favorite underwriters, 33 years in the life insurance business. The man knows what he's doing. Happens to be a man. There's other beautiful women. I don't necessarily see it. I don't know what they look like, but they have relationships with female underwriters too that knock it out of the park. This happened to be an individual, a gentleman, and I probably shouldn't say anything, but I'm going to. We talk. We've developed a relationship over the years. They know what kind of quote unquote business that we submit. They know how we operate. They listen to the podcast. Oh my gosh. And so we have conversations, beyond a particular case. Anyway, he said, James, you won't believe what I'm seeing. And I'm like, oh no, tell me. And they're seeing the same things that we're talking about, all this clown world, what infinite banking is turning into. The memes where, the guy gets clowned or whatever the situation is, where a guy's slowly putting on the clown makeup and the process, and at the end, he's a complete clown. That's exactly what is happening in the infinite banking footprint. Exactly what is happening. And I know you agents, especially the ones that are, putting on the makeup, right? You're going to get angry with me, and God bless you. You can get over it, and I don't care. Okay. But the listener who's listening to me and us, and I've heard this before, James, why all the arguments, in their quote unquote research as they get in, and you soon discover that there's more than one viewpoint within the infinite banking footprint. Why are the arguments there? Because they're needed and they're real. Maybe someone wants you, maybe you should be responsible for your own education and your own vetting. And I mean that in love and encouragement, right? Okay, but I also know that it's going to anger some people that have maybe bought into this, and then they just want their decisions, reinforced that they did the right thing. No, you're not going to get a false validation. Is it the end of the world? It depends on what you've done, and likely it's not the end of the world. Anyway, me and the underwriter, one of my favorites, having this conversation. And what do they see? And there's suitability, right, in all of the financial world. Does this product, does this investment, life insurance is not an investment, I'm just saying in the financial world, does this make sense for the consumer, for the policy owner, for the applicant, for the investor? There's financial suitability, and of course there should be, but then there's medical underwriting within the life insurance industry. And so when you talk about underwriting, which is different from the life insurance company giving these contracts out like, paper, just paper the world, give everybody a contract because we need the business. I'm talking about the medical underwriting. And what are they saying? They're being put into a position where they're not even in the suitability department, but you can look at the numbers on the page. How much is the income? Where's the money coming from? What does the policy look like? What's the death benefit? What's the premium? And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, right? Could they potentially pay that first year premium from a HELOC so they can run out and do an investment in the real estate that they probably know less about the real estate than they do life insurance, which is next to nil. And so that's my encouragement, is for you to educate yourself. Why does this man get passionate from time to time? Why do I get passionate? Why do I show up on a Saturday and talk about life insurance? You think I've got a click funnel? that just hoops and tripwires till you get to the big $50,000 a year secret inner circle that you have access to all these big names that are going to be here until they can get paid more elsewhere, then they're gone. It's like, no, maybe I want to advance the idea that you the listener, you can actually become your own banker. You actually can control the banking function at the you and me level, and not just for 1 year. Right? I mean, who builds a house and wants to live in it 1 year? Who wants to buy a car and live in it 1 year? Who wants to build a garden for 1 year? Like you're never going to eat again? I mean, no. So this type of structure that I rail on over and over and over, and this short-dated thinking is, there's a reason for the railing, right? Yeah. And it's meant in love and encouragement. If you think long-term, you will win. If you think the shorter term time periods that you think, the higher the probability that it's not going to go well for you. And to Ryan's point, these life insurance companies still keep giving out the contracts. It's not good for the life insurance. But who's the most important? It's not good for you potentially, right? Now, if you've only got a 5-year time period and whatever, maybe that works. If you're 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, and you can't think 25 or 50 years in advance or in the future, I'm not going to be here. Neither are you. You may be here, but my children and my grandchildren are going to be here. So it matters what I do today and how I do that. So I could go on, but the life insurance company is not good for you, the consumer. It's not good for the life insurance agent, and it's not good for the life insurance company. But hell, if you look at some of these life insurance companies, they're just waiting to retire and pension out. Mm-hmm. So when it does, if it does, and it will, it's a matter of time before it collapses or goes wrong, affects their financials. I'm not saying the life insurance companies are going to go out of business. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that they're all going to be taken over by hedge funds like Ohio National was. Oh, all of you Ohio National agents, how do you feel now? Huh? How did the policyholders feel? And I have an idea. I spoke to many of them. And I normally don't mention life insurance companies on purpose, their names, right? But I'm just saying, when
that one doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it's a stock, but they've changed their name. It's now
right. But the policy that you were issued still says Ohio National, doesn't it? Right? Yeah. The commission checks you were receiving said Ohio National. Yeah. And so
it's all part and parcel of the ever more short-term minded, higher and higher time preference type views. The get rich quick, goldfish attention span, glamour, do it now, click here, click now, act fast. It's all part of that. And everybody knows that that's the way the culture is going. There's an economist called Guido Hulsmann.
Guido?
Guido. Hulsmann. He's a
sounds awesome.
German. He's German.
Prussian?
No, German.
just making sure.
I'm just trying to find the university. I think it's a university in. Give me a second. University of Angers. That's what it is. Angers, Angers. But he's affiliated with the Mises Institute, and he's written about how monetary policy affects the culture and how what's going on with the money supply can cause people generally on the margin to become more and more short-term minded. And this is all part of the same deal. And the unwillingness to capitalize, the unwillingness to embrace early illiquidity, the unwillingness to think long range is all just part of thinking short term. And two things I've had clients say to me, and it's just, sometimes people say things and it's like, I don't even know how to respond. Like, whoa, I won't need all that money. I won't need all that cash value. I won't need all that death benefit. It's like, what? You want to inhibit the amount of capital available to yourself. You want to inhibit or reduce the amount that you pass on to later generations. Like, I don't, it comes down, I think there's a misunderstanding that, you're going to give something up. You're losing something permanently and forever. You're sacrificing. You're embracing unnecessary suffering if you think long range. No. It's good for you. It's good for your people. It's good for your future people to think long range. And, coming back around to this commission thing, it's like, this occurred to me too. It's like, if I'm such a commission hound, why would I say no to people so often? Like, it isn't some better than nothing, because you kind of think there's an idea out there that the consumer's always right. My friends, the Austrians, love to say this, the entrepreneurs got to survey the consumers. And, we were at a group earlier in the year.
My God, wait, I got a gag reflex going. Okay, sorry.
The consumer's always right. And like, I don't want to I believe in the sovereignty of the consumer. You do what you want. I'm all for that. But this idea that what the businessman needs to do is just take a little survey rather than share maybe some specific expertise or their own perspective to help you make a better decision. I just think that's so silly. But there's an idea that we just got to listen to the consumer. And so it could follow that an agent might have these long-term oriented views, right? Might follow what Nelson said, but when somebody comes along who just wants to do, they just want to do a more short-term oriented thing, well, maybe I then, as a business person, should just give that person what they want. Why not? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like that. It's very similar to that sort of recourse to that very convenient naivete, where, I just have some simple questions. I really want you to validate the perspective that I've brought in because of the misconceptions I've heard. And then when I get challenged on it, I just have some questions about it. That convenient naivete thing. And the problem is that it's not all just innocent, and it's not all just fairy dust and ponies. Like you've said it before, no business is better than bad business. I'm not dealing with, I tell people when we talk about premium structure in particular, I'm not dealing with the problems that you are going to bring to me in the future when this doesn't work the way you expect it will, right? According to the expectations that you've not articulated yet, because those are off in the long term, and we're not thinking in the long term, are we? So none of those expectations have been articulated. So why would we know about them? You don't. I get it. But time will march on anyway. And we're going to get to a point where it's going to start to crumble. And then you come back around to me. I don't want the trash persistency.
Well, you plan on being here.
Exactly.
I mean, well, that
and being able to function mentally and go to sleep at night and
I
continue
sleep like a baby, man.
and continue to
gosh.
serve and be interested in the bit and continue to have a passion and have a desire to want to be in the business and serve more. Yeah, I don't want to I'm not throwing bombs out into my future, bombs of never-ending service needs.
I think the promoters don't, either they know or they don't know
Well, they're not thinking long term either.
Of course.
It pervades that short term oriented thinking, pervades the entire structure. The companies are interested in the sales volume right now. Their agents are interested in getting paid right now. The clients are interested in getting high cash value right now. Everything looks good right now. It's the same thing. The Fed prints so that the GDP figures look good right now. Everything's fine, right? The politicians campaign so that you say what they want them to right now. It's all right now.
Excuse me.
Then I get frustrated, and it's like, how is nobody else frustrated is my question.
Well, I think they get frustrated. The people that buy into that are really looking for a durable, sustainable success, but then they, out of ignorance or happenstance, however it occurs, they buy into this well-presented, given from a position of authority. And it's, all of the numbers, and so they hop into it and they're like, yeah, I'm doing it and I'm all good until it's not, until they hear other things. And then they start looking. I don't know how many calls I receive over and over and over. Well, James, I started with them. I'd never heard of you or didn't hear about you. And now I'm like, I understand what you're talking about now by looking at what I've done. Can we fix it?
Yeah, that's the contrast.
It is. And it's like, yes, you can.
But it's not funny.
You can correct it, most of the time until you become uninsurable, and then you can't necessarily correct that one, but then you can maybe do something different or change what you're doing on that one. I mean, you can improve. But I want to bring up the point where, because we don't put up illustrations, we don't beat you up with math. I refuse to drag somebody through numbers on a page to get you to say yes. I just refuse to do that. And there are several reasons why I do that. We run illustrations in our office every day. Our clients know exactly what they're buying and why they're not buying this, what they can do, what they can't do, what they can reasonably expect the life insurance company to do, and all of the hoops that you've got to jump through to own and manage to your level of comfort a policy. So they know my point here is the whole purpose is education, and to the level that you can identify the noise, right? Yes. And the feedback that I get, and thank you all for the emails that you send, the phone calls that you make that share with us, of course, becoming a client, love that. The difference that the content of this endeavor has made. Thank you. But I want to point out here that you're talking about long-term. No question. I just talked about long-term, 50 years into the future. I don't care how old you are. Well, you're going to be dead and gone. Okay, but your people are still going to be here. And if you don't care about that, this is probably not a good idea anyway. Maybe you don't have any people, but you have things that you love that you support. They're still going to be here. Maybe they won't be here if people like you don't do something. Okay, I'm just saying that we're talking about long-term and we're talking about short-term time preference, right? Long-term time preference. It's not as if you are going to lose something, right? There's a temporary loss of liquidity in all of life insurance, and you can't overcome that successfully by building a jank policy, right? And so what I want to say is you can build a properly structured, and even that term is broad. I get it, and everybody now is using it in the infinite banking world, that specially structured, specifically designed, properly designed, and they don't know if they're not doing this, it's because they don't know, the agents, right? My point here that I want to make is you can build a properly designed, properly for you. What's proper for him is not proper for me and may not be profitable for you. Profitable, proper for you, right? I'm 61. He's much younger. You are, however old you are. Your policy should not look like my policy, should not look like his policy. So if they're all the same, isn't that a first clue that, man, Why would they? And if you want to be like everybody else, this concept probably is not for you, right? This is becoming your own banker, not becoming everyone else. Like yours is going to look like everybody else's. You know, you're in the term of an individual, right? And this is a point I want to keep getting back to. You will have access to a tremendous amount of liquidity early with a properly structured policy. So not only are you not losing anything, and we're not dragging you through numbers and charts and illustrations, that I just don't want the impression that it's like, oh my gosh, if you do something correctly, that I'm not going to have access to cash value this year, next year, or the year after. It's not the case. It's like, you build these policies, however you build them, with whatever company who says they're the greatest infinite banking company ever, you know, and the fact is none of them like the word infinite banking because of the word banking. And they all look at it like it's a sales tool for the life insurance agent, which he pointed out earlier, Nelson wrote, it is not a sales tool for the life insurance. Now, is it something that the life insurance industry should have been teaching agents? Of course. Why would they want to teach that? That's a whole nother episode. Okay.
Too long-term oriented. Take too long.
Oh my gosh. So you can have and build and enjoy a liquidity. You can enjoy the liquidity with a properly structured policy. And properly, if I, you know, define that a little further, individually for you and your family. Now, would you rather want that, or would you prefer that, or prefer something that's built just like his because he's his age and you're at your age? He's a male, you're a female, whatever the differences are. Maybe you're rated, right? Maybe he's super preferred. It's like all of those things matter because it's life insurance. My point, and I want to make it crystal clear, and I'll keep going over it. You can have more liquidity than you think. Ample liquidity and a properly structured policy with a company that is not going to turn into Ohio National or demutualize and then get, for the purpose of being bought out and by the hedge funds and the Canadian Retirement Teachers Fund funding them. Okay, you can have liquidity and a properly structured policy. And if your policy looks like everybody else's, I can bet it's not properly structured for you. Yeah. I'll take a deep breath now.
No, and then another part of this is, you know, you don't make your money in the policy, you make it outside the policy. And I feel like I keep repeating myself on this, but I think we're the only people, or I'm the only one saying it. Don't leave me out, bro. You know, the constant, you know, let's talk about real estate. Let's talk about investing. Let's talk about IBC and all the different things that you're going to go and do, all the different quote unquote investments that you're going to, you know, go participate in. Now, because I hear it sometimes, you know, current clients, they listen to the other podcasts and they'll name the other podcasts and they'll say, you know, I really like because they really share a lot of good ideas. And yeah. I'm like, okay, that's nice. You know, again, angels and fairy dust. So it's all nice. Why is it never Nelson's point, which was that you should be investing in things that you in particular know something about? Why is it never that? What? Maybe, just speculating, maybe it's because that's not concrete enough, right? They can't show you an example with some numbers, with some prior performance about how that's going to work and map that all out for you and give you a nice presentation so that you can have some clever ideas. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's the difficulty that comes with expressing the value of liquidity, or the idea that as the amount of capital you have available to you, that alone will change how you understand what counts as an investment or an entrepreneurial opportunity. Like, I know that it's uncomfortable to challenge that way, but this whole it really just drives me up a wall, because it's on YouTube, it's on all the different podcasting. Everybody has something to advertise to you. Everyone's a financial planner. Everyone gives financial advice. Now they have the little disclaimer that says, "Oh, this is financial advice, is a paid advertisement." But it's all about the Bitcoin IRAs and the mattresses and the boxes and you're going to buy gold. Everybody wants you to buy gold, right?
Put it in a vault overseas, right? Yeah. Okay.
You're going to lend to, and I know, there's guys there. Look, I'm not coming against business models in general. I'm as capitalist as they come, but the incessant, ongoing, just deluge of quote unquote investment opportunities for you to buy into. I mean, at some point, we have got to sort out education from the marketing. At some point, it's got to happen, because it can't be that everybody should become a cryptocurrency. Everybody should go invest in real estate. Now, I get it. Because the fractional reserve banking system exists, because the money supply has shot through the roof for the last 15 plus years, the numbers just go up and up and up, right? You're going to make more money, unless you live in Austin, right? More money in real estate constantly, more money in the stock market constantly. It's just going to go up and up. And I was, oh my God, I'd be so stupid if I didn't put money over there.
Yeah, the dollar's devaluating when the dollar's going to collapse, and it's losing its, value by the day. So I got to spend it. I got to put it into motion.
But do you see the structure of all of that? The structure of all of that is you cannot give up control of your capital fast enough. You need to go invest in this. You need to go invest in that. You need to go buy this. You need to go buy that. Never because doing so will improve how much money you can get to. Never because what you should do is build up a bunch of capital that you can control and that you can access. That is literally never the proposal. Find one instance where that is the proposal. It does not happen. It's only here. It's only on my blog. It's only in conversations with clients that people would ever hear this idea that you, the individual, should keep, retain, grow, and maximize the amount of money that you can get to over the course of your life so that you can do what I feel like I'm being like remedial or something, but so that you can do what Nelson said.
I've worn the word simple out over the last 15 years. In all the talks, half of the talks I've given over the last 15 years have simplicity over, because it is so simple.
It's so simple, but it's so, for some reason, counterintuitive. This is really, I think, part of
very counterintuitive.
The marketers, the salesmen, Wall Street has dumbed you down enough. Indoctrinated you enough, conditioned you enough to make you believe that your creativity, your imagination, your ability to go out and use your own God-given talents and abilities and experience to go produce something of value, that you are so worthless that you would be stupid if you didn't go get the money with the experts, to go invest there or invest here, to go be told what to do, to go be led, to go right back to Egypt, please, because at least the tyrant will tell you what to do.
And that is, onions.
That is the financial culture. It's for at least 100 years. I mean, and how convenient to have millions and millions of people who are convinced that they're too stupid to go build their own capital, to go use their own imagination, to go do their own things, to go produce something unique and of value for people they know. No, none of that. No. We need to get the money to the financial institutions as fast as possible. Everybody rails against, the influence of Wall Street and there's too much money in elections. Okay, how much money do you have with BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard? Are you actually voting with your dollars? Is the average American consumer voting with their dollars to protest the system, or are they just going to go vote harder the next time they're allowed to come in and cast a vote that may or may not be counted? It's like this. It's the underneath all of this performative rebellion. Underneath all of the performative, like, oh, the culture is just going down the drain. Underneath all of that performance is a lot of conformity and a lot of sheepish, a lot of doing everything that everybody else is doing in your own personal life. It's the IRS is giving me free money. Okay. I mean, it's just like people who talk about, the small C conservative types who, government is there to protect your freedoms. Okay, so they're there to protect your freedoms and your property by systematically violating your property rights. It's like, this doesn't make, so the IRS wants to give you money. They're the ones systematically taking, they're going to give you a special plan to get, it's just so silly. But everybody,
it fits into the conditioning.
It fits right in. So virtually everybody does it. And then you think, oh, I'm an alternative guy. I'm not doing that. I'm going to go do this IBC stuff, but I'm going to, sit here eyes wide open to hear about, doing the lease arbitrage. I can go be an Airbnb person and get my mailbox money. I'm going to go invest in the different cryptocurrency. Well, I've got a real sophisticated attitude about which cryptocurrency. It's like, nobody in that industry knows where any of it came from. And they openly acknowledge that it comes from an anonymous paper. It's like, this is
like the CIA.
It's so right? Never, ever, ever is it you.
More conditioning that we're going to beg. We're going to beg for a cryptocurrency. Yeah. We're going to beg for a digital dollar. It's part of the conditioning.
Because it's going to go up and up and up, right? It's just going to go up and up forever. And then eventually.
Well, it's really volatile, but it's being volatile on the way up, Ryan.
Yeah, just hold on for dear life, and then it's a little meme culture, and then everyone's got their little groups, and everybody loves to be in a group, right? Everybody loves to be in their groups, and then you get your identity ingrained in it, and you don't want to change. I get it. I get the whole thing, but it's never about the individual. What could you, the individual, do if you channeled as much of your own cash flow into a system, a contractual legal system, where you could borrow against the value of that asset of your system to use for what you want when you want? What could you do with that? What is your unique experience? What is your unique interest? How could it be? Please tell me, how could it be? No, don't tell me. Please, God, don't tell me. Tell me in your mind, how could it be that the financial entertainment guru on the internet knows for you what you should be doing with your capital? I cannot comprehend. The only way I can comprehend how. The only way they might know better is if you have been convinced that the value of your expertise and insight is nothing.
Yeah. Or less than. Yep. Absolutely.
And that's
look, that, I don't want to interrupt because, man, you're on a roll.
Well, this idea, I'm going to go to these other outlets. Oh, there's so many nice ideas. It's like, okay, maybe they're really,
some are going to win.
You were telling a story. I think you've maybe shared about it once or twice, but it's been a while, about a camera that Nelson bought.
Oh, yeah.
When he was a forester, decades ago.
Yeah. Let me say that. But before I get to that, let me say this, that, the dumbing down, I think is what you said, the conditioning that is absolutely going on. And on a tie it back, why would you drive an hour and a half down here on a Saturday? Your ClickFunnels working for you, brother? It's like
not saying stuff like this is not.
I mean, the point is, labor of love, passionate, call it what you will. I'm very profitable. I'm a capitalist. I'm not poor mouthing anything, but the whole idea of the Banking with Life existence, including the Banking with Life podcast, is to promote the idea that you can become your own banker and control the banking function at the you and me level, and then learn what that can mean to you and to your future generations. All right. I've got nothing to sell but books. Right. And if you're a client, you got to pay to go to that client only event. It's like, and it's co-op, right? The cost of the attendance is a third of the cost of the I'm just saying that there's nothing to sell, but an encouragement, other than books, an encouragement to learn, right? To educate yourself. Why? Let me tell you why. Nelson Nash. When you know what is going on, you'll know what to do. My encouragement, Ryan, it's know what is going on. Okay. So the camera. So yeah, we have a conversation, and this pre-recorded conversation, the mics are on before the cameras are on. That stuff is going to wind up behind somebody's paywall, right? because sometimes we even name names.
And
some of it can't go.
A series of zeros.
Okay. So I had a call yesterday. It was an agent call. It was a group agent call. I mentor some agents. There's, a group of us on there, regular calls. And we're talking about the infinite banking concept, right? And life insurance. It's not marketing. I'm not teaching agents, encouraging agents how to market. Okay, that's not it. It's educational on the infinite banking concept and life insurance. Oh, well, go figure. It's okay to know something about life insurance if you're going to use life insurance to become your own banker. Doesn't that make sense? My gosh, how simple is that? Okay. And I'm being passionate. I'm not. I got nothing but love for you listeners, even the guys who, beat us up all the time. I still love you, just don't agree with you. Okay. And I think you should do better. Okay. So in that conversation yesterday, and it's quite prevalent to come up, with the structure of policies, what's right, why is it right, why is the structure wrong, what is it, how to identify that.
Let me interject. Okay, the amount of grace you have in putting up with all of the agent questions of I just need to know what the right structure, what's the right structure, what's the right company, what's the right. I mean, I hear about them, right? Because we have our own conversations. It's never, and I'm in awe. I'm in shock because I know the value. I have an idea. I think I have a better idea than most people of the value of your time and the amount. So I'll say it on his behalf, and he could accept it or not. But this, the affiliated agents, the unaffiliated agents, they're constantly beating up. What should I do? Just tell me, give me the instructions. Just tell me right, rather than just an idea, rather than, hey, how should I think in general about this sort of situation? Not that, right? No. Just what should I do here? Right?
That's what they get.
Hold my hand and write it for me is what it feels like. And it's like, that's what I said. The amount of that you endure is tremendous, and
thank you.
It's impressive, and
probably the only one that I would let speak for me. So, okay, in that conversation yesterday, and it was probably an hour or 2 hours, but part of it was the people jump over today in the modern marketing and the short-term thinking. The lack of thinking is the problem. Okay. That it's short term. It's almost like I'm going to go do this that I know nothing about, but I want to get a life insurance policy in place first so I can leverage that I know nothing about. Then I can go participate in something that I know nothing about and I expect to become wealthy if I do this enough. Okay. So we're talking about the structure, the liquidity, what's proper, what's not, in what context, and what, and I made the comment, somewhere along the lines of, listen, Nelson Nash, there are no shortcuts, right? There are no shortcuts. There's no deals in life insurance. The life insurance company, loves you enough to give you coverage that they're going to fully underwrite, and they want you to do well. All right. And they want you to pay the premiums, and they don't want you to die for a long time. Okay. So why? Okay. So we're talking about the duration. I'm like, listen, Nelson Nash was paying for life insurance, paying life insurance premiums since he was age 14. Okay. His daddy bought his first policy at 13, paid the first year. When he turned 14, he said, here, boy, this is yours. You pay for it. Okay. And then Nelson, and a wonderful story how he met Mary was at a dance with another guy, that really wanted to marry Mary. Nelson's, they both passed on, right? So Nelson snatched her from that guy, boy, wooed her and did it good, right? And married a long time. Okay. 2021, they get married. They buy more policies. He continued to buy policies. All right. And I've had the conversation many times, Nelson, why life insurance? Why life insurance? And he just said, James, see, I got the best advice I've ever received, financial advice, from life insurance agents. Well, by golly, they were trained back in the day and they were educated back in the day. Okay. So we're talking kind of about duration, the liquidity, and I made the comment that Nelson was building capital. He was paying premiums to build capital. And granted, now this was before the dynamic PUA, the dynamic PUA where you could go up and down and unscheduled PUA premium. The dynamic PUA premium ability did not exist until the late 90s. Now, I didn't say this in the conversation I'm sharing with y'all to give y'all more background because I've since thought about my comments yesterday, hence Ryan bringing up the camera. Okay. So that came out in the 90s. They didn't really start developing until the early 2000s. And it was well beyond that, 2007, that we have what we have now, the dynamic PUA. Prior to that ability, Nelson was just paying premium to mutual life insurance companies. The PUA only existed to receive the dividend. There was no additional dynamic PUA. It didn't exist. So he's paying premium, building capital for the long-term future. Yep, he was an economist. He was a forester, thinking long range. His story's in the book, Becoming Your Own Banker. If you haven't read it, you can't even speak with any amount of knowledge on the infinite banking concept. I don't care how many videos you've watched, and I don't care who wrote them or who produced them. Okay, all right. And maybe a long background to your question, but
maybe.
So I said, listen, he was accumulating capital. And the idea at the time, right, and still exists today in life insurance, is you're building capital. You're going to take passive income from that. And if you die prematurely, there's the death benefit, right? So your estate's made whole from the beginning, right, to the end. Okay. And then in my conversation, I was telling the long-term premium payment, capital accumulation, passive income in retirement. And then along came the 80s and the debacle, the real estate debacle that Nelson went through, and he explains about his story. I mean, this is where the infinite banking concept was birthed in 1980 and 81 from what was going on in real estate. Nelson was a real estate investor, right? He was a forester. He bought timberland. Okay. And so that is shortcut today, right? It's the promotion is always pay the premium big as you can, barely get it past the underwriters, probably not suitable, appropriate, correct, reasonable, what have you, and then leverage that to go do something that you don't know about, but you're learning about, and probably the same person promoting everything is just another revenue stream for them. I don't know. Okay. In my conversation, I was talking about the long term. Then I said along came the 80s, right? And then Nelson on his knees at 2 and 3 in the mornings, like, oh my God, how do I get out of this mess that I created for myself? Yeah. Interest rates go to 23.5%, but he had access to capital at guaranteed interest rates of 6 and 8%. 2x4 between the eyes, across the head. He's like, oh my gosh. I mean, that is the genesis of the infinite banking concept. That could not have occurred if he hadn't been paying premium for the long time. What I left out of that conversation, or the implication, because I left it out, some things out, was Nelson didn't do anything. He didn't leverage his policies. He didn't finance anything until the 1980s, and he's getting out of debt, right? Recovering from the Resolution Trust Corporation, the banks, call all the notes, and your partners file bankruptcy, and you don't want to file bankruptcy like Dave Ramsey and all the others. And so you pay that partner's share. Nelson Nash didn't file bankruptcy, paid the partner's share that filed bankruptcy, probably the attorney. Yep, it was the attorney. Of course it was. Oh, wait, am I saying anything new? No. Okay. I jumped over, and this is what, and so Ryan comes in, we're talking about that and a lot of other things. And I just asked Ryan, I said, Ryan, was this conversational, or did Nelson write about the camera that he financed? And I thought he might have written about it in Building a Warehouse of Wealth. I don't know. I've read the book. I've read that before. I've read the manuscripts, right? I've read chapters as Nelson was writing that book. I've read the book. Of course, obviously, I might need to reread it. Okay. And Ryan said, no, I don't believe it was written about. So let me tell you. All right. Now I'm getting to your question. Nelson, goes to college, gets married, goes to college, and he gets into the Army Air National Guard. And so I think this was along about the 50s, the mid to late 50s, maybe even the early 50s, because Okay, so he's in the Army, Air National Guard, and as a pilot, right? And he shared with me one time about this camera that he purchased. I'm like, well, do tell me all about it. So in the Army, as the military replaces their equipment so the industrial complex can get paid, anyway, and then that material that they replace becomes Army surplus. Okay, and then these are like reconnaissance airplane cameras, and Nelson liked photography. Okay, so he tells me, he said, well, James, the first large policy loan that I did was for a camera in the big lens that the camera comes with the camera. It was $3,500 because it was going to be replaced, Army surplus, and Nelson's like, no, I'm going to go buy that. So he got a policy loan and purchased this camera at $3,500. And we, in our conversation, I was saying, well, that would, trying to get the timeline, that would have had to been into the mid 50s. $3,500. You could build a house for $1,800, $2,000. $3,500 for a camera. I can only imagine what Mary said. $3,500 for a camera. So, and my whole point was, I'm thinking about that last night. Nelson used his policies, right? He collateralized his cash values and made purchases, right? And if that was in the 50s, and then it wasn't until the 80s that, oh my gosh, you've bought into the real estate and been very successful until you're not, and then it crashes down. I mean, we can talk about the business cycle and the inverted yield curve if you like. No problem until there's a problem, and then when there's a problem, your investments aren't going well. Your partners are filing bankruptcy. It's because Nelson paid premium for a long time. For the long duration. Yes, he bought 10 pay policies. Yes, he bought paid up at 20 policies, but he also bought paid to age 100 all day long, every day. He had access to the capital. He could do what he wanted to do. He could have, if you could build a house for $2,000, couldn't you just go borrow $4,000 and build a condo and get a revenue stream from the rentals? I mean, okay. That might have been a longer answer than you wanted.
Might have been.
That's like 3 comments, man. Don't ask me a question. You're not going to get a half answer. Okay.
Fair. Right. My point with the camera thing is that it was something Nelson knew about. Aerial photography. He was a forester. He wasn't a pilot. He didn't have to go to a newspaper or whatever the media was available at the time and hear about from some expert or some guru how he should go use his policy. And I come back to this same idea, it's the fairy dust and ponies, like, oh, I just want to ask a question. Look, the admonishment comes because I'm trying to challenge your thinking.
Yes.
Like this idea that that you need to constantly look without for the answers. Let's go, what are they doing over here? Oh, what's going on over there? What's that opportunity over there? What should I go be doing over there? And I've brought it up before, and this is why agents don't ask me anymore to be mentored by me, which is fine. The number one piece of advice, I don't even like that word, but the one thing that I would suggest most strongly to these people is not that they need to go get a lead gen system or go figure out how to design websites or go how to, figure out the SEO or figure out what the right policy design is or what the right company is. No. The number one suggestion was always, you need to start writing daily. You need to start journaling daily. You need to start introspecting. You need to start seriously, systematically looking within, because the answers that you want, the Carl Jung, the psychoanalyst, would say that the answer you most want is hidden where you least want to go. This is in some sense the most challenging. It's the most opposite of what you get on freaking every other financial entertainment marketing platform, which is, it's so easy. Let me show you how. Here's the little map and I'll draw it out for you. Look at these past performance numbers that don't have any indicative power about the future, but believe them anyway. Like that whole structure, this is the opposite of that. right? You can't diagram it. You can't, like The Economist, the little neoclassical micro kind of like your little budget line, your little possibilities production frontier, and you're going to find a little point of tangency right where the math tells you, because the numbers always tell you what to do. This is not that. This is the opposite of all of that. This is the suggestion that to find what would best, most sustainably, most profitably serve you is to be found within. It's in your own experience. It's within your own specialty. It's in what attracts your attention most. And some of you are sitting there listening to this saying, I have no freaking idea what that is. And that is an indication that what I'm telling you is in fact going on, that people have been indoctrinated to not look within, to constantly look without. Let's go find the answer somewhere else. Let me go be led. Let me go be led by somebody else, some other authority figure. They're in some building. Maybe it's got a nice religious symbol on it. Maybe it's got a flag on it, right? They're going to go into an institution, or maybe it's got it's a school, right? Of course, the schools and the prisons are built by the same people, funded by the same institutions, but never mind that, right? As long as we can be led, right? As long as we can be led. And this is why I get, it's like, when I get the question, for the 8 millionth time of, hey, what do you think about, my company gives me the free money at the 6% quality. Okay, it's not free money. It's not money. Can't use it, so it's not money. Money is a general medium of exchange that you use to facilitate exchange. If you can't use it, it's not money. And there's a cost to it, right? To get to it eventually in the future as money, there's going to be income tax. And if you get to it before that, there's a penalty. So it's not costless. So it's not free. So it's not free money. And it's not for you. The plan wasn't marketed to you. It was some financial advisor, some marketer, okay, who makes 100 calls a day, finally got to the guy or the gal or the people who own the business that you happen to work for and convinced them to go buy these assets that meet these restrictions specified in the IRS code so that they could play a tax game, so that they could get a special, what looks like tax break today, thereby creating a liability in the future, but they don't think about that because that doesn't help facilitate the sale. Anyway, point being, it wasn't for you in the first place. The IRS, in their little arbitrary minds, say that a certain number of people, depending upon the plan, depending upon the business, have to be involved in the plan in order to get it's all a game built upon game, built upon game, built upon game. So that the advisors get paid, so that the IRS people have something to do, so that the business people have something to worry about, so that the big corporate institutions can feel protected because there's now more costs all the way down the line. That's what that is. And none of it has anything to do with why isn't the question I get, hey, rather than starting to do an automatic match to Wall Street, I'm going to go, what do you think about this idea of me picking up this side job so I can start automatically matching more to my own plan? Why have I literally never got that question? Why is it never, even the idea that you could flip the script from constantly tithing to these secular institutions rather than doing that, flipping it over to doing it for yourself and your own family? Why does even the structure of that question shock you? It is because this indoctrination runs so deep. And that is what I mean when I say that underneath all of this performative rebellion is a whole lot of conformity, because the underlying ideas don't change. It's always, what group can I go be a part of? What leader can I go follow? Who can I take my preconceived ideas and get the affirmation and the validation from to say yes so that I can feel better in the moment? It's always some version of that. And at least in one place online, on this podcast, that is not going to be the message. One place, just one place. Everywhere else, you can go be told and, applaud it. Oh, go do the investments. Go to we have a trip coming up. I'm going to go spend a bunch of time with a bunch of financial guys who do tax planning, and I'm going to pray throughout it to try to, because it's all, how can we play the game that everybody else is taught? And it's just like the experience in the economics profession. I'm going back through Mises's Human Action, And he's just viciously railing against the use of mathematics and economics and how silly it is to draw these demand and supply curves, because all you ever can get is like instances of past transactions. It's literally dots on a coordinate plane. The idea that you can draw a continuous line through them with infinitesimally small increments along the way, which you need to get continuity in a curve, how silly that is. And yet, every single Austrian economist that I've ever encountered comes up with some careerist rationalization for why, well, we could just still teach that. We'll just still teach, because it makes it, this is what they say, it makes it easier. Right? It's easier for people to understand that because they can draw these nice little lines on a curve. In the Wall Street financial advising framework, it's, look, bigger number over here, smaller number over here, dum-dum. Don't you know the difference? Right? It's the same thing. We got to dumb it down for you. And I'm so sick of it. We're going to dumb everything down to appeal to the most common denominator, to try to be as widely appealing as possible so that we can make up for our lack of commissions, our lack of margins in volume. You see how it's all part, and then of course that has to be short-term oriented, right? Because when are you going to make up the volume? Long into the future? No, right now. Right? We need to do it right now. It all goes together. And if you see it like I do as like this, it's a structure where everyone's got their place, all in this, everyone following along the way it's been done with marginal incremental changes along the way so that we can get paid right now and get by and have a little justification. Never mind the underlying merits of the position. Never mind going back to first principles. Never mind going back to the economics of the situation. Never mind going about what's right or wrong. Ooh. No. Just what's expedient. It's always what's expedient. And in the short term. And so I cannot stand that.
Well, thanks for sharing, sir.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, and I agree. I mean, that's, look, he's the academic, not me, right? And God bless him. And I mean that in love. I like some academics, I've met a lot of them, and I've seen them insulted by the simplicity of Nelson's work, and quite enjoyed that later. Shocked when I experienced it. I'm like, what? Can't you see the economics in Nelson's work? I mean, isn't it clear that this is Austrian economics in action? Isn't that clear?
No, because it's not directed at the state. I've noticed this too. It's always like, what's the value of economics? Well, there's some major policy implications. Why is it always, the term political economy is treated as a distinct academic discipline? Why is it never personal economy? Why is it never individual economy? Why is the value of economics, or the perceived value of economics, always in a political context? Well, maybe one day we're going to get Javier Milei down in Argentina to, abolish the central bank.
Oh my gosh. I got some stuff that'll go behind the paywall on that.
It's always political. And then the people, they love it. Again, the social media, it's, again, another group thing. It's out there. It's something that's out there, so we can talk about what's out there, because in here is too much, too difficult, amorphous, can't chart it, can't put a number on it, no past performance. No, got to go talk about what's out there and the problems that we can fix out there, right? It's always a political problem out there. That's the value of economics. And how convenient, the people in the power don't like the Austrian version, and so we just sit on the sidelines and just be grumpy and, just complain and complain. It's like, how can you see again? That's
the performative value.
Yes, again, for me, it's too convenient. Why not? You're telling me that there's all this marvelous edifice that's logically grounded, a priori synthetic grounded, meaning necessarily true, grounded logic of human action that's spelled out in 861 pages in Human Action. This is so elegant and marvelous. And the only practical value of it is to complain about the government.
No kidding.
I mean, it's no wonder that a lot of people that get attracted to that kind of idea feel despondent, feel like they don't know how to go and apply what they've learned out in the real world. It's no wonder. Why is it no wonder? Because the guys at the top tell you that there's really no role for it. Murray Rothbard said that, if we had 100% reserve banking, no fractional reserve banking, no business cycle, if there wasn't anything for the political economists to explain, then there wouldn't be much for us to do. Right? There'd be teachers.
Thank you.
But I don't agree with that.
Well,
stop thinking in terms of the political national
I'm not talking
context.
about the political. You talk about the Austrians and the fractional reserve banking. The work, and then you're going to argue about it. Look, if I was my own banker and I didn't need to use a fractional reserve banking edifice outlet, what the hell would they bitch about? Politics, maybe.
But that's what I'm saying is the problem. I'm saying there's value to be found in turning the perspective and turning the point of view back to the individual. And one of the implications, and I think it is a thoroughly Austrian view, it's thoroughly methodologically individualist, it's thoroughly subjective. It's the idea that the more capital that you have, the higher the quality of your access, meaning the more certain, the more contractually predictable, the more reliable your access to your own capital, then the better, the more high resolution, the more desirable the entrepreneurial and investment landscape. And I feel like I'm banging my head against a wall on that one, because I continue to get these questions of how should I best use my policy? The advertised rate of return is greater than the policy loan rate. Isn't that economic value added? Doesn't Nelson say that economic value added is a good thing? Shouldn't I do that? And it's like, why are you asking me then? If all of that was clear, why wasn't the trigger already pulled? Why isn't the check already cashed? There's some kernel within all of that's making you doubt. And yes, and I'm saying this is part of the value of a real, thorough, personally directed, personal point of view, Austrian type economics, which is, and this fly one example of the value of this approach is to suggest that the more capital you have access to, the more favorable the investment landscape would become. And what exactly the particular kinds of opportunities are that you might take, one would think that one would like to have them be a very high return, very local, very individualized, a function of knowledge unique to you or to a limited scope of people, a small market, low risk, high degree of predictability that you understand, right? People would think that these are characteristics of the kinds of opportunities that you'd want to get involved in. That is the opposite of the real estate and crypto stuff that people are constantly berated with. And I get it. There are successful real estate investors. And I get it. There are people who are successful in cryptocurrency. But if you're telling me that the only way to go out and be entrepreneurially successful is to go participate in the same two freaking buckets that the entire world is advertised and marketed to, I cannot accept that. How about instead of 2 buckets of activity, there's 330 million of them? Of individuals doing what they themselves happen to know something special about doing. And if that's not you, because here's another implication of that doesn't have to be you. You could just have a particular craft in a given industry that you steadily work at. And then through defeating Parkinson's law, saving more than you spend, you can steadily capitalize.
Getting a side hustle.
And then over time, acquire knowledge and skills, equipment, tools, whatever you might need to further deepen your specialization in that thing that you already know. Like part of this commodified exoticism where it's like, oh, we're going to go out and do all these fancy, financial things, going to go learn all this new technical knowledge. Part of what is so irritating about that is it gives the impression that in order to be entrepreneurially successful in the context of IBC, you've got to go have this adventurous, high risk attitude. Like you're going to go out and blaze a trail. And look, for some people, maybe that's the thing to do. But for a lot of people, it's not. And the two are not required. You don't have to go be this wild, adventurous risk taker to do IBC, and the wild, adventurous risk taker doesn't have to go do more of that to properly do IBC. Right? The banking function is underneath all of that. And the individual is always in a better position if the individual has more and more access to capital under their own control, regardless of their particular circumstances. What I'm coming against, what I'm admonishing against, is this idea that you've got to truncate, you got to shorten for as long as possible the amount of time over which you can pay a high premium into whole life, because all that matters is that big old cash value right away. And that once you do that, you got to go take a policy loan as soon as possible, because paying premium is a bad thing, right? So we got to pay, maybe we're going to pay the premium with the loans, or if we're maybe going to able to pay the premium like from a HELOC on our home, we're going to then go take loans and turn the money over, or make the money work for us, and go do a kind of investment activity that everybody else and their mother who is online is interested in doing. Why would that be? I cannot understand why that would be the goal. Why would somebody wake up and say, the thing that I want to risk my hard-earned capital in is the thing that the most people know about, that is the most attracted, that the education and the knowledge disbursement is most wide, where the margins are getting tightened and tightened to the greatest, that is most exposed to the fractional reserve banking system, that is most relying on banks. Why would anybody get up and say, yeah, that's the one I want to do? I can't understand that.
I think they don't know, or one hasn't made those connections. Yeah. To me, and I appreciate that, and I won't crack on you for going so long as you did on me.
Thank you.
Like, if you know if you know what's going on, then you'll know what to do. So a lot of us don't know what's going on, right? So we don't know what to do. And when we do see what's going on, all the connectivity that you've explained very well, then I'll know what to do, right? Or I'll have more clarity. And I also want to say that you don't have to be an entrepreneur, much less the entrepreneur that goes out and gangbusters and all of that. And you don't have to have a business. He said, Nelson, and then Ryan repeats, something that you know about. Well, maybe you don't have any hobbies. Maybe there's nothing there that you know about that excites you to monetize, to create the capital. So if I don't know, and look, the future is unknown, right? No question. I mean, it's almost odd when you hear it. It's almost odd when I say it, but I'm just saying it for myself. I needed to say it, and you needed to hear it, and I needed to hear it as well. If I don't know what to do, it's okay to do nothing.
Yeah.
And beyond that, it is okay to accumulate capital. And maybe it takes me 5 years to figure out what I like. Maybe I don't want to do anything but accumulate capital. There's nothing wrong with that. And if I spend a lifetime accumulating capital, and I'm at least active, have friends, acquaintances, opportunities will appear. I may not have any idea of what they may or may not look like in the future. But if I don't have capital, I can't participate in whatever it is. So maybe if I go along and I felt, I succumbed to the conditioning, to the point that I didn't do anything, but I didn't do that. I seen the conditioning. I didn't participate in that. I bought into this idea, understand why, that I would want to, create capital that I have access to by guaranteed contract. I have control of it, right? And maybe I'll just do that. What is wrong with having a lot of capital at age 70, 75, 80, 85? Yeah. Well, you're not going to supplement your income, give gifts to your family, friends, experiences, monetary, whatever they are, without capital. So what is wrong with building capital? Nothing. And that's part of the narrative. Get rid of your money as quick as you possibly can.
Yes.
Because you don't know. And the fact is, you do know. You do know that you don't want to risk your money at a loss. You do know you don't want to make a bad decision. You do know that maybe cryptocurrency is for you or not for you. The fact is that you do know. And as a matter of fact, in 33 years, I've been in the financial services industry. How broad is that, right? And I don't know everything. I haven't been anywhere. And I appreciate your earlier, acclamation or, your commentary on the value of my time. Thank you. I've met and many interacted with many financial professionals. I'm not making any moral judgments at all. A lot of them are really cool people. Most of them you wouldn't want to hang around with. I'm just saying. And you're going to sit down with them for an hour, 30 minutes. You're going to show them what you're doing. And they, because of whatever designations that they bought and paid for, maybe learned something along the way and continuing to pay for those designations. And I have a few, I get it. It's like, and they're going to tell you what to do with your capital. That is an abdication of your responsibility.
Yeah. It's such a,
maybe they're good, maybe they're not good as far as their advice. You accumulating capital over a long term that you have access to early and continually, just the longer you're just going to have more access to more capital. That is better than a lot of the financial guru that looks over your finances and, signed off and sees your tax returns, and your financial statement signed off by the CPA who won't even guarantee the numbers. Right?
Yeah. And that's part of why I get so fired up about it is because it takes one to know one, right? Like the feeling of right. Like the feeling of being bullied or made to feel stupid or dumb really irritates me. And I have a saying now, it's like the adults are not home and there are none coming. Right? The facade of authority is
the straw man.
All that it is. Yeah, like I know better because I have the letters. They do not know, they are very confident in what they have been programmed to understand.
And half the time they've been bullied.
Yes.
If they were honest.
And hurt people.
They've been bullied through their career trying to learn, right? And then they get bullied enough and you won't want to learn outside the construct. No, we do IRAs, 401ks, or managed money portfolio, whatever it is we do. Or term or whatever it is. Yeah, there's plenty of bullying that goes on in the financial industry as you're trying to learn.
Yep. And then they have the experience and they make you feel like you don't know anything. And then all of it is built around diminishing the individual. If you can be just beat down into sufficient compliance, then all of these institutions would be very happy. And that is the story of modern financial America. And the part of the reason I get so lit up about this stuff is because well-intentioned people, to my mind, to some degree, are mindlessly repeating the slogans have the same structure of come over here, look at the
same
special
intended result.
Yeah. And you look at some, I had to clear my internet history because I think of these guys in my internet tabs. But, you look at some of these websites, some of these financial gurus, they're going to tell you the secret about special PUA writers or the secret that makes cash.
I love it when they're 19 years old and telling me the secret.
And the t-shirts on the videos, it's like, what is this? What is this? And look, I get it. A lot of them, they're not approaching these things from this perspective. Look, if you don't have a nuanced perspective, then you're not going to be upset about anything. Everything just kind of flows through. Everything's great. Fairy dust and ponies everywhere. But if you've got a particular point of view, then some of this stuff should be irritating. And look, the reason that the people who are the millionaires and the billionaires, the reasons they say no to most things, to most quote unquote opportunities, is because they have a very particular point of view, a very particular perspective. You may not share that perspective, but at least they have one. Right. And so they filter out, there's this is a very interesting thing that just came to me. There's the idea that what human consciousness does is it filters out, it reduces so much of what is, so much of the facts, so much of phenomena broadly construed. It filters a lot of that out so that you can actually make sense of the world and be present and be an individual and not have your doors of perception blown wide open and be like a schizophrenic, right? That consciousness distills reality down to something that we can understand and experience. And I was going somewhere with that. Dang it, and it was so good.
I've been talking to some unconscious people.
That's what it was. That is, to my mind, that's what I mean by the value of a keen of a nuanced perspective. Is it lets you, like consciousness, it lets you filter out, allows you to filter out all of the noise to get down to a reality that you can interact with, so that you're not inundated by all of this, all of the noise, all of the online marketing nonsense, all of the quote unquote opportunities that are constantly put in front of you. It's almost like developing your own financial perspective as part of the refinement of your own consciousness. But how could one ever go about doing that if we're constantly told that everything that's passed in front of you is the next best thing? That's got to stop somewhere. And, people who want to go out and be the real estate investors, God bless them. It's just in my experience, the number of people that I interact with who seem to have some specialty or history or experience in what they were good at, be it a job or whatever, who tell me, the reason I want to do this IBC thing is so I can go invest in real estate. It's like, saying to me, the reason I want to do IBC is so I can go invest in bungee jumping equipment. It's like, this has what is the relationship of that to your particular unique perspective? Well, nothing, because that was never the question in the first place. It was, where can I go get the high advertised rate of return? What guru can I follow? Rather than following the idea that the answer is within you. And so I know it sounds like mystical or occult or whatever, but this journaling, introspection, looking within, finding what it is about what you do that particularly attracts you, right? Odds are that there's a lot of stuff that you deal with that you don't like, but that there are certain elements that you seem to like. What more could be done there? How else could that be applied elsewhere? How could you integrate that unique particular thing you're interested in with the other unique particular things you're interested in? What could that look like? How many days have you spent, how many hours have you spent exploring what that could look like versus how many hours, how many days, how many years have you spent listening to what other people think is best for your financial circumstances? Like, at least balance out the scales, at least give yourself a chance, spend a quarter of the time that you spend indulging and imbibing what other people say is good for you on what you think you yourself may be good at. Why not try that?
It's like, it's okay to be quiet, and still and conscious. I love that. The connectivity of drowning out the noise. That in today's modern world is almost a requirement. If you can't disengage from the noise, I don't see how you can ever find true stability. Right? And I'm not trying to be esoteric, but just sitting still and being quiet, even if it's something that you're interested in, and separate yourself from the noise. I mean, that's incredibly important to me, and really it's required in my life. And not to oversimplify, but I love simplicity. It's a virtue. Nelson said it, and here this man is saying this, 20 years ago. It's like, oh, when you practice the infinite banking concept, when you become your own banker, it's like putting on noise canceling headphones. And he was all excited when he traveled. He would get the boys, and it's true. And the more capital you have access to, the more that is true. You're talking about millionaires and billionaires earlier. They'll make a decision in 30 dang seconds, right? Because of their experience and their opinions, which were formed by their experience. I mean, in short order, right? And if you don't know what to do, it's okay to do nothing, but at least build capital. Okay, at least build capital, and then if that's interesting, appealing, then learn about the infinite banking concept from the first works, from the source, right? And there's a couple of other books. I can't wait for his to be printed. And it's going to become a foundational resource, I assure you. This podcast, there are other podcasts, and I've had lots of other podcast hosts on, and a lot of clients come on. I don't endorse any of them. I mean, and I love them. I'm just saying, I don't know what they do.
We don't know what they do.
Yeah. My passion, my purpose is to promote the idea that you can become your own banker. You can control the banking function at the you and me level. And if you don't know that, okay, now you've been exposed to it. And then if you don't know how, okay, learn how and learn from the first word. Don't do anything until you learn from the sources, in my opinion. Now, and if you're out listening to things, I agree with the diminishment of the general public from the financial world. It's disgusting, right? That you don't know, I do know, so therefore you do what I tell you to do, right? And then we're all in the narrative, right? We all come up with that. Even the new agent and advisors and across the financial world, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
The adults are not home, and none are coming.
And it's not a moral judgment. And I believe that they want to do the right thing, so they're trying to learn, and they're learning within that narrative, right? So if you hear something, and these are just some things that I've heard and I've seen, all of your cash values should be outstanding in loans. Well, number one, your cash value never leaves a policy. So let me properly rephrase that. Okay. All of your cash values should be collateralized, outstanding in loans, right? They should be collateralized, and you should have those loans making your money do something, right? Does that even sound reasonable to you?
I tell you what, it's clearly sounded reasonable to some people because people are out there doing it.
Absolutely.
And we hear from, and we didn't even talk about. I'm hungry, but we didn't even talk about the yield curve. And people who have, this is a little prediction. We've said it before. People who have been told this, that look, the thing you need to do is pay a bunch of premium, then take a bunch of policy loans to go channel, pay your income tax or pay your recurring expenses. Just keep on running a steady loan balance. It's unfortunate. And I don't wish, financial turmoil is difficult on everybody, and I don't wish this bad on anyone, but a lot of people are going to get their lunch eaten.
They're already starting.
It's already starting. It's
no
already
question.
Starting. Yeah.
And we can go back on a podcast, and I call the timing too, but I'm not an economist. I'm not, anyway, and I'm not even saying, oh, look at me, I go back and I called it. I'm just saying it's already started.
Yeah. It's just like any bank or financial institution that gets overloaned, and then a financial crisis happens and they find themselves unable to collect on the debt. Their borrowers go out of business. It's the same thing. The same thing is going to happen to individuals who have been told to run high loan balances everywhere, because you make your money outside the policy, not in it. And then
if you look at and I had this conversation earlier this week, and I have a couple of things that I didn't bring up too. I don't know how hungry you are. We can wait and do it later, whatever. But it's like, I had a conversation earlier that, this week, and it seems like I've had it a couple of times, talking about real estate. Well, my gosh, who bought real estate 10, 15 years ago that bought it properly and isn't a freaking genius today?
Right.
I mean, who is that?
How convenient.
I mean, oh my gosh, I look like a freaking genius. I struggled over the purchases I made. Oh my gosh, is it going to cash flow? What are the repairs? Blah, 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 the taxes, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I look back at, oh my gosh, you're the smartest guy in the world. Not me. I'm just saying that who's not a genius that didn't buy a bunch of dang real estate, especially in Texas, right? Who's not a genius selling, homes from California and taking the $1 million from the $200,000 truly valued house, taking that $1 million and go buying whatever they want, putting the rest of it in a retirement account. Okay.
It's curious how fractional reserve banking seems to create a lot of counterfeit intellectuals.
Right. Yeah. Okay. How about if you hear, well, they do it for the commissions, right? Even if you hate a commission salesperson, even if you hate them, right? And I get it, the browbeating, the envision of an insurance salesperson. Dave Ramsey says, kick them out of your kitchen, kick them out. It's like, Dave Ramsey, get a job. I mean, oh yeah, you don't need one because you're bilking your people. I get it. Okay. All right. So, and how about you drive to the car wash today? Right? You have a car, you want to keep it clean. You drive to the big car wash that has automatic things, and you get berated by the guy out there that's like, hey, for $10 this month and a month, you can get free car washes forever. I mean, it's like, it's becoming borderline abusive. It's almost like borderline abusive when the marketers, and I get it, it's my fault, maybe it's your fault when you look at something too long or you click on the wrong thing and then you get fed up. There's all this retargeting ads come to you about how you can get rich quick and renaming and bastardizing Nelson's work over and over. It's insulting, right? How about is it really true just because it sounds good and is possible that they don't understand what we're doing? But you've been in the financial world for umpteen years or whatever, and you don't understand. It's possible, but Ryan, he's not doing what we're doing because he just doesn't understand what we know. James doesn't do this because he doesn't understand, and of course we don't know everything, no question. I'm just think about that, right? And then how about, well, they pay the highest dividend.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all you need to know, that this is what you want to do, whatever they're saying, because they pay the highest dividend. How about the life insurance company that says, no, we are the company that does the most or the best infinite banking? I mean, really, if you hear these things over and over, to me, it's like, well, I can get you a higher rate of return over here. Look at the rate of return. Right. No, well, it's a UL policy. It's an IUL policy, but they're brand new and they don't understand. And look at the rate of return. Look at the rate of return. I mean, does that even, if you sit on that and chew on that a while? I mean, yeah, I know. Oh, wait, this life insurance company is a household name. They're the one, the only one. This one and that one. They're the only one because they're a household name.
You got to strip down that sales
I've improved what Nelson did. I've improved what Nelson did. Nelson, an economist, a forester, a life insurance agent, a real estate investor. You improved his work? Really? Yeah. God bless you. I mean, those things on their face, just like, yeah, no, I don't think so. They don't even sound right. They don't even sound natural. They can't be right to me. Anyway,
it's for. I'll finish by saying it's all that is for. So what I've learned is that that whole style that we rarely people. There are many people out there who want to be led.
Yes,
they want to be told what to do. They want the hand holding. They want, point and direct. And, I've had people just, say like they're afraid to like ask questions because, I always say it's becoming your own banker. And you go, look, I provide service. I have thorough advisory, brainstorm type calls with people, maybe even more than I should. Right? It's not like you're just floating out there off by yourself. To the contrary, the idea is that you are equipped to be your own independent banker, not relying on anybody, but we're here if you need us.
And that takes time.
Yes, it's a learning process. But I just want to stress that it's not like you're supposed to be out there just on your own fending for yourself. It's the opposite. But you should start with a strong, thorough foundation in first principles, in the source material from the person who came up with all this, and then consider setting aside this constant, indoctrinated urge to go be led by some financial guru or some marketer or somebody from the government or somebody with letters after their name. Like, it could just allow the slightest bit of thought that the answer could be with you, and that maybe with enough capital, you could go turn that into something very profitable over the long run.
Wanting to be led is nothing new. It's ancient. It's like you mentioned, Out of Egypt onto Babylon, a essay that Nelson wrote, and I believe he put it in Building a Warehouse of Wealth. It's like, it reminds me of Israel. We want a king. We want to be like all the other nations. We want a king. I am your king. No, we want a king like them. Yeah, wanting to be led, right? And he tells them the first thing that the king is going to do, he's going to tax you, and he's going to put your children to war. Oh, we want a king. We want to be like them.
Sign me up, yeah.
It's like, oh my God, tell me what's new. Yeah. Okay, thanks for listening. That was fun.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you for joining us on the Banking with Life podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and click on that little notification bell. Otherwise, join us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher for weekly content.